Week 13 of NFL action is just about in the books, excluding Monday Night Football, contenders stumbling, underdogs rising. We'll talk about all that and more next. Hello, and welcome to the Everyday Fans Podcast, where the game belongs to all of us. No experts, no suits, just fans talking sports the way we live it every day. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Everyday Fans Podcast. Today we'll be looking at Week 13, everything excluding the Monday night game. That game is coming on tonight, so we will not have an update. So when we look at the playoff standings later in the video, the New England Patriots are at 10-2. That will be a static standings, as again they are playing tonight, and the update will not be in this video. A lot of upsets this week, man. A lot of upsets going all the way back to Thursday. I believe every underdog, according to the Vegas lines, every underdog won Thursday. The Chicago Bears won Friday. The Rams end up losing yesterday, and a few other teams. But those are the big ones, and we'll start with the Bears here, and we'll kind of trickle into the way everything is shaping up. So the Chicago Bears, if you don't know, went to Philly on Friday, win the game 24-15, and in dominant fashion. 281 rushing yards. I mean, this run game was just a thing of beauty to watch on Friday as we, kind of recover from our food comas from Thursday. When I look at this game and I really think about what it means for the Chicago Bears, a lot of people will call this a statement win, right? This is one of those wins that, kind of catapults you into, is this team for real? This team is for real. Well, I think before you get into all of that, you have to identify, like, who is this team? Like, right? I think a lot of teams, for example, Philly, I think they know who they should be, but for some reason it seems like they don't know who they are offensively, and that's hurting them, and as they've lost two straight games here. When I look at the Chicago Bears, Ben Johnson, this offense, everybody knows who they are and what we're trying to do. So there's no blurred lines in terms of, how this offense wants to operate. So run first mentality. You're going to run the ball, and if you can't stop it, we're going to run it again. And even if you stop it, we're still going to attack you, because by the time you run a football, by the time the fourth quarter comes, defenses are tired, and that offensive line will start taking over. But speaking of the offensive line, this Chicago Bears offensive line has been maybe the best unit on the field. A lot of talk in the preseason about, the wide receiver group, that's the best group. Defensive back group, that was the best group. To this point in the season, the DBs have played pretty well. A lot of our top DBs, have been out. We just got a few of them back last game. But the offensive line has been the best group on the Chicago Bears team, especially of late, but majority of the season. Now, early in the season, a lot of pre-snap penalties, all of these type of things. That stuff's been cleaned up. If you haven't been paying attention, that stuff's been cleaned up. Not saying it won't happen. People are going to make mistakes, but this offensive line is redefining the expectations for this football team. If you don't know how this game is won, it's won with big guys up front. Offensive line, defensive line. We don't have the best defensive line right now. That's something else. Offensively, this offensive line is moving people. Shout out to Darren Rochard, the offensive line coach. Shout out to Ben Johnson and his scheme, and them executing it week in and week out to this point. Philadelphia, if you don't know, they have maybe the best defensive tackle in the NFL. Arguably a top 5 defensive line. I'm not going to say one, but I don't think most people will put their defensive line lower than maybe 5. But this offensive line went to their building and took care of business on a short week. So moving forward, I think you have to look at the Chicago Bears, whoever you are, whatever team, and say, hey, we got to stop the run. And now that's going to open up things for this quarterback, these wide receivers, these tight ends, to be able to make some plays in the passing game, because there's too many weapons to just say, hey, we're going to load the box, we're going to load the box, we're going to load the box. because when that starts to happen in some of these other games, I think you'll start to see the passing game utilize some more of these different type of looks, right? Throws. Obviously, the play action game is something that Ben Johnson really wants to work with Caleb Williams and has been working. So it's going to be really interesting to see going forward what this team looks like. But they're a team that has literally been growing the whole season, and it's exciting time in Chicago. Very exciting time in terms of the potential of what this team can be. You got to live in the moment. You can't think of this season as, yes, we were rebuilding and we didn't really expect to be here. Well, you're here now, and you take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you. We control our own destiny. We got a big game coming up this week. We'll talk about that particular game later in the video, but really good time to be a Chicago Bears fan right now. And but we got a lot of season left. A lot of season left. So looking at a wider lens and looking at the league and a few other things that happened around the league. So yesterday, the Panthers at home get a huge victory over the Rams. And this goes back to why I said the Bears are number one now, because the Carolina Panthers took care of business and beat the Rams at home. So that brings the Rams down to the 2 seed. That brings them to 9-3. And I'll hold off on that because we're going to look at the playoff picture here in a little bit. Another big win. The Texans go to Indianapolis and get a big win over AFC South opponent, tightening that AFC South race. 49ers take care of business on the road at Cleveland. The defense was dominant. Shador did start that game. He had a few throws, nothing fancy. He's a young quarterback learner, so he's got a little bit a ways to go to get better. But hopefully they let him play the rest of the season, because I'll be interested to see how he progresses from that first start to the end of week 18, I believe it is. And then the Buffalo Bills 26-7 over the Steelers. Kind of regaining some momentum coming off the loss to Houston. That game was in Pittsburgh, so the Bills have been struggling on the road. So the Bills able to get a big win on the road over the Steelers. The Steelers really needed that game because that AFC North is really tightening up. So here's what we all want to see, right? The playoff picture. All right, so NFC at the top 7. Bears at 1, Rams at 2, Eagles at 3, Buccaneers at 4, at 7 and 5 because they are the NFC South. Seahawks at 5 at 9 and 3, Packers at 8-3 and 1 at 6, and the San Francisco 49ers at 9 and 4. So the in the hunt, the Lions at 7 and 5, Cowboys 6-5 and 1, and the Panthers at 7 and 6. So really a lot to really think about and break down here. I'll start with that NFC South with the Buccaneers at 5. Excuse me. They were able to get a victory yesterday over the Cardinals. Cardinals tried to make a push a little bit late, but Tampa able to kind of just get it back going and getting a win there at home. I mentioned it in past videos. See, Carolina, they're a bit Jekyll and Hyde right now. They're a team that's learning how to win games as well. A lot better than they have been the last few years. The head-to-heads are going to matter here. That's going to determine the division ultimately. And those games will be coming up here toward the end of the season. I know they end the season facing off on each other, and I think maybe week 15 or 16, they play their first game. But the Panthers beating that Rams team lets me know that they can compete. Now, if we go back to the game, Monday Night Football, I think the week before, they kind of laid an egg. Not kind of. They laid an egg at San Francisco, and it really threw me off because I thought that was a team that would go in there and compete and at least push the Niners. That didn't really happen. But getting a big win at home over the Rams keeps them in this. Only a game, really a half a game behind the Buccaneers there. So the NFC West. So you have 9-3 and 9-3 with the Rams and the Seahawks. The Rams did win that head-to-head a couple of weeks ago. So they have the tiebreaker over them head-to-head in terms of what that's looking like. When I look at the NFC West, excuse me, NFC West picture, to me, can the Seahawks win that other game? I don't have the Seahawks schedule pulled up in front of me here. Let's see if I can get it pretty quickly. I don't want to waste a ton of time here. Had too much dead time. But I know they do have another head to head coming up in terms of. Where are you, Seattle? Sorry about this. If you're watching this, I don't want to misspeak here. So Seattle has Atlanta coming up this particular week. Seattle has Atlanta, then they host the Indianapolis Colts, then they host the Rams. That looks like a Thursday night game. They go to Carolina and they still have the 49ers. So the Seahawks got a little bit tougher of a road. There is a path for them to win this NFC West, but the Rams probably getting a bounce back spot. And I would think if you looked at the sports books, that the Rams would still be favored to win that division, especially them having one head to head over them already. I think the Rams schedule is a little bit softer on that back half of the season. The NFC North, where the Bears are 9-3, and Green Bay at number 2, down at the number 6 spot at 8-3-1. So they got a head to head, their first head to head this week coming up. It's going to be a big game there, right? Oldest rivalry in the NFL. They flex that game out, so that'll be a big one coming up this week. But the first game to start that week, and we'll get into some of these games, I believe the Lions and Cowboys play this week coming up here. So going down to the AFC side, 10-2 Broncos, 10-2 Patriots. Broncos get the win in overtime last night. I didn't watch that whole game. I watched parts of it, so I won't go into too much in terms of how they looked. I just saw the final score and a little bit from the stats, but the Broncos ultimately get the win in that game. Excuse me, and stay on top of the AFC South. Jaguars now moving up to the number 3 spot and taking the lead in the AFC South as the Texans help them out to get to just over where the Colts are. Let's see here. Right, so the Jaguars at 3, then Ravens at 4, leading the AFC North at 6-6. I hope a team does not get in that doesn't have a winning record. We've seen that in the past, but I just hope that doesn't happen. Even if it's just one game over, let's just make sure please, I don't want to see that. Anyway, moving on. Chargers at 8-4. Chargers kind of just flying under the radar there. I don't feel like they're getting a lot of talk, but Chargers are right there in that AFC West. Only one more head to head with the Broncos, so they would need some help. They would need at least one other loss for the Broncos, and if they could beat them again head to head, they would actually jump them in the AFC West conversation or division. Colts falling to the Texans, bumped them to a wild card spot at 8-4. The Bills at 8-4 also. In the hunt, you have the Texans at 7-5, Steelers 6-6, and the Chiefs at 6-6. Chiefs absolutely cannot lose again. Mahomes said if they want to make the playoffs, and I'm in 100% agreement, they can't lose another game. Honestly, it doesn't matter to me if they make it or not. It'd be refreshing to see a team in there that's not them. But if they do, they do. They don't, they don't. Don't matter to me. Looking at what else did I want to mention here? So we got a lot of games coming up this week that matter. I didn't want to take a ton of time this video. We're almost at about the 15-minute mark. So I'll start to wrap this up here, but I did want to look at some games going into next week. So some games to look forward to heading into week 14. So the Thursday night game this particular week, Lions are going to the Cowboys. or is it? I'm not sure if this is at the Cowboys or at the Lions. Actually, I don't know this off the top, but Lions at Cowboys head to head this week. Both teams are in the hunt graphic. If we saw from the last page, so huge playoff implications in all of these games on the screen. Because whoever wins this head to head, if some other teams stumble and it comes down to a wild card spot, this head to head is going to matter. So huge game for both teams. Cowboys got a lot of momentum. The Lions kind of stumbling a little bit the last couple of weeks, so they'll want to get back on track. So let's see who wins that game. But that'll be the Thursday night game this week. Colts versus Jaguars. That will be for first place in the uh, AFC South. First head-to-head meeting for those guys. They will have another one here coming up in the next couple of weeks. Steelers versus Ravens, also for first place in the AFC North. So a lot of first place battles here for these divisions this week. So a lot of good games going on. The Colts and Jaguars and the Steelers Ravens are both games in that 12 o'clock window. And then the Bears Packers for first place in the NFC North is a 325 national game that got flexed, which will be on Fox. So huge games this week for a lot of teams in these divisions. And we'll cap the night with the Texans, who are rolling, going to Kansas City and facing the Chiefs team that, I mean, they've been in desperation mode, but at this point it's win or the season's over, essentially, in terms of playoff aspirations. This is pretty much a Super Bowl or bust team, so anything short of that, to me would feel like an unsuccessful season if I was a Chiefs fan, and just doesn't look like they're getting there to this particular year. So I'm gonna leave it there. Wrap the video up there. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.